Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. I am Brian. Thanks for tuning in, and today we're going to go over what many people probably consider the Cadillac of power stations. This is the brand new EcoFlow Delta 2. Okay, this has got a lot of upgrades over the Delta 1, and we're going to go over that in this video to hopefully give you a better idea of what the Delta 2 is, to see if it's something worth your investment. Now, EcoFlow did send this unit to me to do testing on it and to provide you this review. They sent this to me 4 weeks ago, so I've actually been able to use this out on my camping trips and around the house and testing it and putting it through its paces. To start off with, this is the latest iteration of the ever popular Delta power station from EcoFlow. The form factor is basically the same, with a few minor differences. So EcoFlow finally put lithium iron phosphates in their battery stations, and the EcoFlow Delta 2 now comes equipped with LiPo4 battery cells in the amount of 1,024 watt-hours worth of amazing LiPo4 juice built into this thing. And it only weighs 27 pounds, so it's a little bit lighter, believe it or not, than the Delta 1. And 27 pounds is not backpack material. However, with this form factor, it's very easy to move around. I don't know, you instantly pick it up with two hands, and 27 pounds is not too bad to move from your truck to the campsite, moving around the house, from the kitchen to the bedroom, whatever. It's not a terrible amount of weight to have to move around and lug around. Now, this does sport a continuously running 1800 watt inverter built into this. It's mind-blowing off of a unit this small. It will surge up to 2200 watts if you have to, and this has what they call the X-Boost function, which when you turn it on, you can get up to 2700 watts. Now, the voltage does drop when you turn X-Boost on, so for sensitive electronics, I wouldn't recommend it, but for anything that requires a heating element like a hairdryer, hot plate, a heat gun, anything of that nature, X-Boost works fine up to 2700 watts. That is an immense amount of wattage coming out of a unit that weighs 27 pounds and that's this small. Some of the other few differences that they've done on this version versus the Delta 1, changed up where you plug in the charging cord. So normally on Delta 1, all your charging ports were over here on the side, but now you have an XT150 port to plug in an expansion battery, and they put all of the charging ports here on the back. So you're gonna have your solar, your car input, your XT60, your standard charging output, and then your overload 20 amp max protection switch over there on the side. So you're gonna plug in all of your input options into the back of this unit to keep it kind of out from the side, which was kind of weird to begin with, because I don't know, just my opinion, I didn't like things coming off the side. But speaking of this side expansion port, you can buy expansion batteries from EcoFlow to double or triple the capacity that this thing's rated for. So you can buy another 1024 watt LiPo4 expansion battery, put it on top, effectively doubling the capacity of this battery, or you can buy what they call the Delta Max expansion battery, which is 2000 watts, effectively turning this thing into a 3000 and a little bit more watt-hour capacity rated power station. And with this being lithium iron phosphate, this will last you for probably over 10 years. So it's a decent investment. EcoFlow is proud of their products. I will go ahead and tell you that. Now that these are finally lithium iron phosphate battery chemistries, I think it might be worth it. This does have wireless and Bluetooth connectivity, so if you are around your house and you have Wi-Fi, you can connect to this via your Wi-Fi. If you are out at a campground and there is no Wi-Fi around, you can still connect to this via Bluetooth on your phone. So you have two options to connect to this. For charging, you can charge this thing up to 1200 watts via a charging cord. No brick, again, thank you so much EcoFlow. No brick, just a charging cord. You can charge up to 1200 watts. So that means you can charge this thing from 0 to 80% in 50 minutes, or 0 to 100% in 80 minutes. Okay, so to go over the front panel of this unit, the first thing we'll go over is the screen, which is a very bright display, and you can actually see it in bright light. We'll start out here on the left, where it's gonna have your discharge time to empty. So right now it's kind of fluctuating because I don't have any load on it, but this is gonna display your time to empty. You've got your battery gauge up here with a percentage and a ring around it to kind of give you a visual display. You're gonna have your input and your output watts, your 60 hertz for your inverter, and right now I am connected via Wi-Fi, so you've got your Wi-Fi symbol right there. As far as the ports go on the front, you're gonna have two USB-A ports, and those are both rated for 12 watts apiece. So 24 watts total on your USB-As. Then over here, you're gonna have two USB-A fast charge ports, and those are rated for 18 watts apiece, or 36 watts total for USB-A. You also have two USB-C power delivery 100 watt output ports on each side. You've got one there and you've got one there. And Delta 2 actually changed the power button to a gold button, I guess, to make it a little bit easier to see. And I like this breathing light. This screen will time out. And you can quickly look over, and if this light is breathing, you know that the unit is on. The screen has just timed out and cut off. Again, this is going to be your XT150 port to actually plug in a battery expansion cord if you choose to buy one. On the back, flip open this lid, and that is going to be where your XT60 port is for your solar inputs, and that is 11 to 60 volt DC, 15 amp max. You're going to have your AC charging port for your charging cord, and then you're going to have a 20 amp breaker right here. In case you overload the system, you can come in and press that and reset the whole system. 6 AC charging outlets, 2 of which have the grounding plug. The other 2 are just standard two outlets. Your AC inverter button, 2 5521 ports, and 1 car charger 12 volt 10 amp port, and this is rated at 126 watts max. And then on this side you're going to have your intake and your outtake for your fan to cool down the batteries if needed. All right, so enough of the boring specs. Let's talk a little bit about the app and charging this unit up. So I'm going to put a little screen recording of the app and show you what it looks like. So we're going to go into the ECOFLOW app, open it up, and you can see that my unit is already assigned to it. So I'm just going to click on this tile and it's going to open up, and it's going to show that I am right now inputting 602 watts from my home wall outlet. That is going to give me 30 minutes until I am completely full, indicated by this little battery indicator. And if I had solar input, you would see the amount of wattage being produced by your solar panels down there in the bottom right hand tile. But if you go up here to the top right cogwheel, this is going to be where all of your settings are located. So you can go into the top and rename your unit to whatever you want. You can turn on and off the beep, so anytime you hit a button on this thing, it doesn't beep at you. The AC charging speed, if you click on that, this is where you're gonna have the slider where you can adjust if you want, when you plug it into the wall, if you want it to only input 200 watts, all the way up to 1200 watts. You can adjust that to whatever your preference is. I have this set for 600 watts. But if you need to top this thing off really super fast, push that slider all the way to the right up to 1200 watts, and this thing is going to accept 1200 watts out of your wall outlet. Your car input, you can adjust from 4 amps to 6 amps to 8 amps. So when you plug this in to charge from your car, you can adjust the amperage. The smart generator, I don't have one, so we won't talk about that. The X-Boost toggle, this is where you can increase the inverter power by up to 2700 watts. Now keep in mind, the X-Boost will lower the voltage of your appliance if it gets up to that 2700 watt level, so it's not good for sensitive electronics. You can use it for a hair dryer, a curling iron, a hot plate. Anything with a heating element's a really good option for this X-Boost technology, but just keep in mind it does lower the voltage a little bit to get up to that 2700 watts. You can change the frequency from 50 hertz to 60 hertz, and the discharge level, this thing's pretty cool because some people do not like to run their battery units all the way down to 0. You can set this thing to automatically cut off if you want it to only get down to say 22% or 30% or whatever you choose. It will automatically cut off when it gets to your desired level. With it being lithium iron phosphate batteries, I'm just going to keep it at 0 because I'm not worried about it, because I want to get full capacity out of this battery unit. Unit timeout, never. Screen timeout, 5 minutes. AC timeout, 12 hours. 12 volt DC timeout is pretty important, and I have mine set to never because if I have a compressor fridge hooked up to my 12 volt car adapter port here in the back and my compressor isn't running for 2 or 3 hours, I don't want this unit to cut off thinking that there's nothing plugged into it. Some battery stations have an automatic cutoff of 4 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours on the DC side of things, and that's just to preserve its battery life. But if I want to keep my refrigerator running all night long while I'm asleep, I don't want this unit cutting off. So I have mine set to never. You can update your firmware. Mine's up to date. Your help center, and then your specifications tab is just going to be all of the specific details about your specific Delta 2. And then we can go back to the main screen and you can see I'm at 27 minutes now until full charge. All right, well that about covers up the app and the AC charging for the Delta 2. Now, with this product, you're also gonna get, and guys, this might seem silly, but even the cables that they provide to you, they're such high quality cables just in the feel of them and the fit and finish, and they're thick, durable, heavy cables. Here is the DC connection cable with the XT60 on the end of that. This is going to be what you're going to use to charge up out of your car or truck or any 12-volt socket. Really nice MC4 connections to another XT60 port that's going to plug into the back of this unit, and these are really long. These are around 10 feet long, so you're not going to have to put this power station right next to your solar panel out in the sun. They give you enough length to separate the two so this doesn't get baked while you're trying to charge it via solar. Now, speaking of solar panels, this thing will accept up to 500 watts of solar panel juice or 15 amps. So you can use a pretty big solar array to charge this unit. This is also a UPS device. So what that means is you can take your AC charging cord, plug it into the wall, then plug this in to your charging port. Then you can take your appliance. Let's take a refrigerator, for example. Plug in a refrigerator to one of the AC ports in the back, and it's basically going to act as a pass-through until power goes down. So when you have your AC plugged into the wall and your appliance plugged into the back of this, the power is going to come from your wall and bypass the battery inside this unit and power the refrigerator. In the event that you have power go down, it's not going to bypass that battery. It's going to immediately kick over to the battery juice in this unit and begin to power that refrigerator. Now, EcoFlow Delta 2 claims that that's going to happen in 30 milliseconds. So that's not quite fast enough to keep a data server online sometimes. So just keep in mind, I would not rely on this for highly sensitive computers or data servers or modems, but things like a refrigerator, fish tank, this will serve as a UPS or uninterrupted power supply. Let me show you some real world examples of me using this out camping and out around the house and what it can power, and I think you're going to be surprised at some of the things that this thing can run without a hiccup and run it very easily. So take a look here.
This is great for powering your drone batteries, charging up your handheld radios. I even ran a small Ninja blender off of this thing without any issues whatsoever. And here I am charging up my iPad, showing you my iPhone being charged, and a small portable battery bank all at the same time, something that we would all use inside the house with kids.
Okay, so in this test, I want to show you folks that you can use multiple ports off of the EcoFlow Delta 2. And by that, I mean I am charging up two of my power stations using the EcoFlow Delta 2's USB-C power delivery output, and both of these are charging at 100 watts apiece. I've got two lights being charged via the regular USB-A ports, and I'm also running a little mini desk heater off of the inverter off of the EcoFlow. So this thing will handle multiple inputs, no problem. So I've got 100 watts coming in to this power station and 104 watts coming in to that power station, both coming from the EcoFlow. And right now this unit is only outputting 350 watts, but that is again powering the heater, the two USB lights, and the two power stations being charged via the USB power delivery ports off of the EcoFlow. Okay, so while we're here, let's test out pass-through charging. So I still have everything running, but I'm gonna plug in the AC charging cord to the back of this EcoFlow and make sure that everything works well while it's still charging. And it works fine. We're charging at over 700 watts because that's the wattage that I picked on the app. But again, we are charging and running all of this equipment at the same time, so pass-through charging works just fine. Okay, can it power a 10 amp hammer drill? With no load it can. Not a problem. How about a 1500 watt heat gun? Now remember, this thing is rated for 1800 watts, 2200 watt surge, so it shouldn't be a problem either. So let's just kick this thing on high to begin with. 1415 watts. How about a jigsaw? No problem. How about two heat guns? Yep, and we cut off at 2200 watts. Got one going at 1400 watts. Two of these is now pulling, guys, we're pulling over 2000 watts. So let's do a voltage test under load and also check the sine wave to make sure that it is putting out pure sine wave energy. So this little desk heater is putting out around 400 watts, 119 volts. And there's your pure sine wave. How about powering my camper? So I've got my shore power plug plugged in outside, going all the way in to the back of the unit. TV's on, interior, exterior lights are on. Max Air ceiling vent is on. Interior lights are on. I'm pulling a massive 72 watts. Will this run my air conditioning unit? Let's just go to high cool right off the bat. Absolutely. No problems running my entire camper, albeit I'm not going to get a lot of runtime running a 5000 BTU, but it does run it.
So my battery capacity tester is all set to 0. We've got the EcoFlow Delta 2 charged up to 100%, and we are going to be using about 10 amps worth of charging juice, going to be pulling about 130 watts for this test.
Okay, the DC discharge test just wrapped up. We are at 0% on the battery, and we were able to squeeze out 790.51 watt hours. So there you can see we've got 790.51 watt hours, and this unit ran for 6 hours and 51 minutes and 17 seconds. So that equates to 78% efficiency off of the DC port. So for the AC discharge test, you can see that we are at 100% battery. Okay, so this fan is pulling on average 151 watts, so I will come back and see how many watts we were able to pull out of this unit using the AC inverter when it's depleted. AC discharge test is complete, so I was able to get 822 watt hours off of this battery. All right, so we've got the EcoFlow Delta 220 watt panel now pushing in 160 watts into this EcoFlow Delta 2, which is not bad for 9:30 a.m. sun. Well friends, that is my review over the brand new EcoFlow Delta 2. I hope you found it informative. I love testing these things. It's fun to make sure that they actually perform the way that they're supposed to perform. So let's do a couple of recaps and I'll give my honest opinion on this thing. So first off, it is a beast of a power station. A continuously running 1800 watt pure sine wave inverter on this unit this size is incredible. That means that you can take this thing almost anywhere and power almost anything that you want. The fact that it can serve as a UPS is awesome. LiPo 4 batteries, which means you're probably going to have this a lifetime. But with the availability of extra batteries that you can purchase for this, your options truly are endless in terms of what you really can power and how long you can power things for. So if you want to dive into the EcoFlow ecosystem, this is a darn good unit. It ate everything that I threw at it, ran my power tools, ran my camper, continuously ran very smoothly at over 2000 watts. It did cut off after 2200 watts, which is what it's supposed to do because I did not have X-Boost on. So it did that very well. Everything about the unit is fantastic, but I will nitpick a little bit because there are a few things, if I was the engineer on EcoFlow, that I would change for me personally. So the number one thing is having the outlets on the back, the AC outlets on the back. I know why they did it this way because a lot of people will say put this on a kitchen counter and plug in a lamp or a coffee pot or whatever in the back, and you don't want to have cords coming out the front and winding it around on your countertop and it kind of looks ugly. But for me personally, from what I use it for, I like to have my ports all in the front because I use these things in my truck and it's easier to get to the ports in the front of the unit. But again, I understand kind of why they did that, just to make it more streamlined and clean for more home use. And a lot of people are probably going to say, well, the power delivery is only an output. And I was a little bit bummed out at first until I realized, guys, you can get 1200 watts worth of juice from your AC cord. And for me, typically, if I'm going to use a 100 watt input port, I'm going to be using it to charge the power station from a USB-C power brick that I plug into a wall to get a little bit extra juice into my power station. The fact that you can get 1200 watts put into this from that same wall outlet kind of negates the need for me personally for a 100 watt input. It just wouldn't do me any good, and the fact that I can plug it in and get up to 1200 watts off of a standard wall outlet. And the efficiency rating. So I was a little bit disappointed in my testing when the DC discharge test came back at around 78% efficient. Now, I do know that there's quite a bit of conversion loss because this is a 51.2 volt battery converting down to 12 volt to output on my capacity tester. So you're gonna get conversion loss, I know. So, but 78%, I would have liked to have seen it get at least 80%. And then the AC discharge test, I believe I got around 81%. So anything over 80% is good. I like to see it at least 85%. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more increase in terms of efficiency off of this unit. But again, every single thing that I threw at it, it did it without a hiccup. And the 220 watt solar panel from EcoFlow did great with this. It's a very high quality solar panel. I have a lot of them to compare it to, and I can tell you it's a nice solar panel. So folks, do your own research. Really look at this system to see if it's something that you need. For me, I will definitely have a use for this, especially in my new truck. I probably will build a cabinet specifically for this to use in my new camper build. You know, got a 5-year warranty on it. EcoFlow is a extremely well-trusted brand name in this industry, and they're gonna back that warranty up. It's not some no-name brand coming off of the slow boat. So you have peace of mind if you do decide to invest in EcoFlow that you're gonna have that coverage for you for at least 5 years. But other than that, folks, I don't wanna sound like a fanboy, and I'm not trying to sell this to you. I'm taking advantage of EcoFlow sending this to me so I can show you how it operates. And in my testing, I think it did pretty well, and I would give this a thumbs up. Gang, again, here is the EcoFlow Delta 2. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. Take care.